Welcome back, friends. We're going to do a data sufficiency problem. These are very fun to do. You're going to enjoy them. I can't be too loud because the wife and kids are all asleep. I use my 10-year-old's room because he's at a friend's house on a sleepover. And my 10-year-old Jude loves cats. All right. In fact, where the heck is it? You might see one of these guys coming in here later. Anyway, let's do it. So in data sufficiency, they're always set up the same way. A will be the correct answer if statement 1 alone is sufficient, but statement 2 alone is not sufficient. And B, right over here, statement 2 alone is sufficient, but statement 1 alone is not sufficient. And C, right over here, right over there, both statements together are sufficient, but neither statement alone is sufficient. D, each statement alone is sufficient. And E, statements 1 and 2 together are not sufficient, meaning we have no idea. Now, the best way to learn these is to do some examples. Data sufficiency, is K plus M less than 0? That's what we're going to try to figure out, and that's the data that they have there. If you want to try this one before we do it together, hit the pause button right now, then we'll do it together. Now let's do it together. Number 1 says K is less than 0. Now we want to know, is K plus M less than 0? The only way K plus M will be less than 0 is if either both of them are negative or one of them is negative and has a bigger absolute value than the other one. For example, negative 13 plus 5 would be negative, but negative 3 plus 8 would not be negative, right? So number 1, going back to number 1, we have K is less than 0. So that means K is a negative number. If K is a negative number, like let's say negative 5, but we don't know what M is. M could be positive 10, which negative 5 plus positive 10 is a positive number, or M could be a positive 2. Negative 5 plus positive 2 is a negative number. So if all we know is K is less than 0, then we cannot know for sure that K plus M is less than 0. Okay, now let's look at number 2. We have Km is greater than 0. So how can K times M be greater than 0? That's only possible if both K and M are negative numbers, because a negative times a negative is a positive, or if they're both positive numbers, because a positive times a positive is a positive number. So if that's all we know, that Km is greater than 0, then we have limited it down to either they're both negative or they're both positive. Obviously, if they're both negative, then we go back to this, then the sum of two negative numbers would be a negative number. However, if they're both positive, then the sum of two positive numbers would be a positive number. So therefore, by itself, number 2 is not sufficient. All right, now let's try both 1 and 2 together. If we know K is less than 0, then we know K has to be a negative number. And then if we know that K times M is a positive number, and we already know from number 1 that K is a negative number, that means M then has to be a negative number. And K times M, if they're both negative numbers, then it would be greater than 0. Now, if K is a negative number and M is a negative number, then we go back to the question, K plus M has to be a negative number. All right, that means by themselves 1 and 2 are not sufficient, but together they are sufficient, making C the correct answer. Thank you.